While romantic girls fall in love with potential, Melania Trump falls in love with results. While romantic ladies are chasing closure, Melania is chasing property deeds. While romantic girls dream of fairy tales, Melania writes her own. So here are 12 long-awaited tips we can learn from Melania Trump on not only how to marry a provider, not only how to marry rich, but to get ahead personally and professionally. Ramasani, how do you do? I am a certified color and image consultant, former Miss Universe finalist, yes, in that Trump pageant, and certified etiquette consultant, and a happily married relationship coach. So here are my top 12 tips from not only how to marry rich, but level up into the elite that I've learned from Melania Trump. Being half Slav and half Arabic, my first tip is perhaps the most obvious: stoicism. Being stoic and strategic. So in your interactions, you ask, is this going to help me live my dream life? Yes or no? So in every step you take, you ask this question: is this going to help me move towards my dream life or away from it? Right? Take a deep breath and do this. And also forgive yourself, because sometimes we do get upset, Stoicism is not a jail. It doesn't mean that you're not emotional. We're humans. But it means that you try your best to regulate your emotions and not let your emotions control your decisions. So instead of chasing butterflies, the strategic lady learns how to buy the whole garden. It means you think before you move. So you think, is this person going to be an ideal father for my children? Is he kind? Is he decent? And also, is he responsible and capable of taking care of my children? Does he earn enough to be responsible? Is he generous, right? There is nothing worse than someone who, on top of having money, is stingy. So this is important. Instead of going for your heart and chasing that broke, dusty loser who only looks down at you for having no standards. Number 2 would be inner nobility, nobility of the spirit, or we call it in Eastern Europe, inner elegance. So yes, that means inner work, and also if you're cultured in inner elegance, that means that you go to museums, you're well read, you can carry a conversation. Because too many ladies who level up and they know how to have the right outfit, we call them svetas, but as soon as they open their mouth, you can tell their lack of class, that they don't belong, because they don't know how to carry a conversation. Or often with hobbies, they will pick tennis because it's posh or Pilates, but they cannot stand it, right? If you pick an affluent hobby that you don't even like, so they ask you about it, as opposed to, it's better to have a hobby that's just a regular hobby, but you are passionate about it and you can say something, so you're not more boring than watching paint dry, as so many ladies who level up often are, There was a certain one who pretends she likes horses, and anyone who knows about horses knows that those horses, that she says it's her horse, they don't know her, or they cannot stand her, or there was not this genuine human-horse connection, because I haven't ridden years, but when I do, I try to make friends with the horse. I think animals are adorable and I try to form a connection, right? And, it doesn't always work. You have to get to know them. You have to befriend the animal, right? So, and I wouldn't say I'm much of a horse person. Though I'm not an equestrian, I can certainly hold conversations. The current book I'm reading is Guns, Germs and Steel. And it is essential for understanding the world. So it's important to be able to carry a conversation. And you see this in Melania Trump's biography. It also means being validating, making people feel special when they talk to you, which is what Melania is known for in private. Now comes our next tip on why she's so private. Some friendships are just auditions for your downfall. So many ladies are jealous and envious and will tear you down if they have any information. And on my wall, my group, we were reading The Odd Girl Out. It's an essential book to understand female jealousy. And there is no one who can tear you up from getting ahead like a best friend. So friendship is based on having things in common. And when you move to the next level and your friends don't, this creates tension, hatred, and jealousy. So Melania, as soon as she moved from Slovenia to Italy for modeling, she cut out all her old friends. And then when she moved to New York, she cut off her old friends. Then when she married Trump, she cut off most of her old friends except the gentleman who helped her with modeling. She's known to cut people off before they can be jealous of her and cause her trouble. She is notoriously private because the less people know about you, the less they can use against you. When you're beautiful, envy is the norm. So beautiful women should only befriend other beautiful women who are happy in their relationships, who won't tear you down, and it should take time to build friendships. And also, maybe your beautiful friend might be dumb. Maybe, as long as she's kind, maybe she's boring, whatever. It's better to have a friend who is kind to you and has your back, even though, she might be dumber than a box of rocks. She might have an IQ of a goldfish, or she might be the most boring person in the world. But if she has your back, she's worth more than gold. When you level up, you have acquaintances for networking and you have close friends. So when it comes to close friends, you have to be careful. And they're not the ones who are always the most fun. They might be boring, they might be, they're often not the shiniest, coolest person out there, but they're loyal. So always go for loyalty more than any other trait as you level up, because there's so much jealousy. Next, the courage to be disliked. We have this lovely, fun video.
I don't like to repeat stuff. I don't like to follow the people. I prefer to lead than to follow.
Be the girl that would be considered uncool in high school and bullied, because billionaires love someone who's all that. The Taylor Swift of the world, that would be the most popular, most liked girl among girls in high school, because she's cute, right? She has the football captain, but she's not so beautiful that she's intimidating. She doesn't stand out because she's a pick-me-sha who is desperate to be picked and desperate to be liked, right? The Taylor Swift personality is the largest turn-off for affluent gentlemen, since they make all this money to get a prize, someone who stands out from a crowd, who's not afraid to be different, and who's not afraid of being disliked because she focuses on her bag and on her goals instead of being pick-me-sha, desperate to be picked. Elite gentlemen and people pleasers mix like vinegar and sodium, or oil and water. Just doesn't work. Deep relationships and friendships also are based on having something in common, and elite gentlemen, as we know, are far more disagreeable than the average gentleman already. Self-assured women attract high-value men, and people pleasers are a liability. We also noticed this in Melania's aesthetic. Trump noticed her blue eyes across the room because she had a lot of makeup on. She was wearing this dark smoky eye that was not elegant, and it wasn't this, clean girl, old money aesthetic. She wore a dress that suited her. Melania did not shy away from wearing her best bright colors, from wearing body-conscious clothing that suited her. She doesn't try too hard to be picked and to be elegant. So the lesson we learn here, and probably most important one, is to get to the top, you have to stand out and fit in. And it sounds contradictory, but you do have to fit in within elite social norms that are fairly generous and lax, alright? And within these norms, you stand out. So, for example, if you're very loud, you don't come across as posh, alright? If you're physically aggressive, starting fights everywhere that are unprovoked, you don't come across as posh. If your clothes don't suit you, or you have poor quality clothes from Shein that look like the $10 that you spent on that dress, and you mix it with a designer handbag that, your boyfriend clearly gave you, and at your age with your job, you clearly cannot afford. This combination, I'm sorry, there are certain things, you can't carry a conversation. He asks you, what's the last book you've read? Oh, How to Marry Rich. You see this. Of course, elite ladies, they don't read this book, so you don't go and say that's what you're reading, right? Because a fish doesn't know that water is wet, right? So maybe keep that one to yourself, right? Don't go and say, oh, How to Marry the Rich by Jeannie Sales is what I'm reading. No, you have your other decoy book, right? I'm reading Foundation by Isaac Asimov. Or you can say, you're reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Something interesting, something different, alright? So you have a book to carry a conversation with, and you don't go and you say, oh, I'm reading How to Marry Rich. You don't go and you say this to affluent
Power,
people.
Faith and Fantasy by Michael Warren, for example. Another good one.
So when you have an excellent book that you can talk about, that's fitting in, alright? But your clothes should make you stand out and not be so beige that you blend with the wall. And I have said this and posted this on Jeannie Sales' wall, and her husband said this is brilliant. I actually had it as my own Facebook post, and her husband loved this because most walls are beige. So don't dress so bland that you're desperate to fit in and be liked. You know, and be liked by who? By other losers who are also desperate to fit in and be liked. No, Melania wore what suited her, and she didn't care if others found it elegant or not. She wore what suited her and put herself first. The next tip is the great Slavic survival strategy that I learned the hard way as an Arab girlie. Start cold, neutral, and mysterious, then warm up gradually if the person deserves it. So I got in trouble at work because I would bring in cookies when I was near, and like, hi, you know, and so warm. And then people thought that I was weak because I was warm, and I was targeted. I also noticed this with women because I'm pretty. And then when I'm also warm, I come across as accessible. And then all of a sudden, microaggressions, bullying, right? But when I started cold, you dress sophisticated, elegant. So I was bullied in a class I took by other ladies who were overweight. And they bullied me because I was skinny, all right? And why? Because I was like, oh, how do you do? Right? Oh, that looks nice on you. Right? As an Arab, warm and sunny. And because I'm pretty and I wasn't mean, they were mean to me because they were jealous and they thought, they were envious and they thought, oh my goodness, she is easy to bully, okay? So what I learned the hard way, I'm also autistic, so I have to make myself not a target. So if you dress sophisticated like Melania, she understood this. She used to be a fashion model for her mother's company in the factory where she worked. So she knew to dress sophisticated, to be groomed, you know. Don't go anywhere without your nails done, hair done, etc. when you're meeting other people. Otherwise, you're going to be bullied if you're pretty. Sadly, it's like this. Or if you're intelligent, or you just have a beautiful aura, if you're exceptional in any way, you know, and you don't care to protect yourself, you'll be bullied, right? So I got bullied, and reading Melania over again, right, watching her, made me realize what my mother did. And that's how I stopped getting bullied, right? So after I got bullied, then I started to look at Melania because I noticed she's smart. So I started talking about Melania to my mother. And, you know, and I was telling my mother, oh, you know, I don't want to take another course. She said, why not? She's like, you know, I got bullied. And my mother said, you know, could I be honest with you? I said, yes. It's like, you're too warm. You go, you're so nice. And, you know, you don't know these people. And you act like they're your friend. Oh, Habibti. Shut up with the Habibti. Stop it. Right? No more Habibti. Be like Melania. You know, be Slavic, normal. You know, cold at first and warm gradually. Okay, so no, my mother, of course, she doesn't speak much of an accent, but she said to be cold at first and warm up gradually, and studies back that this is the most attractive type of person. So my mother does the same thing. So when my mother would take a course, she would go to the room and sit at her desk and ignore everyone and just not care, right? And then she would sit quietly and observe and read the room. And then when she finds some people are safe, she will say hello. They say hello. She says hello back, right? She never initiates hello. And then, you know, she might compliment someone she finds safe. And over time, she might start asking a question or so, but in the beginning, not a word. She goes in, goes out, warms up gradually. And that's how she avoids bullying. So I tried this method, worked wonders, highly recommended. Also on dates, start cold and warm up gradually. That's why Russian gentlemen give Russian ladies flowers, because we don't smile unless you give us a reason to smile. We have our natural feelings. No one is owed, alright? Our smiles belong to us. We don't owe other people our smiles. We're not Starbucks customer service. Sorry. The next tip is the central tip in hypergamy. Put yourself first, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. Confidence is magnetic, and Melania's confidence and assertiveness comes from putting herself first, wondering, is this in her self-interest or not? So Melania pursues her self-interest first, which is essential for being feminine. Because if you don't do this and you put your man, your job, your family, if you put them first, that's masculine. So you end up overworking, overexhausting yourself. Then no one wants you, right? Imagine if you just overwork, so you eat whatever, you stop taking care of yourself because you want to be the best mother, the best wife, the best cook, and also you work at the office, whatever. And you just put others first. You will be this prematurely aged old cow, and then who doesn't take care of herself. Your husband will leave you, and your children will be without a father. That's not a positive thing. So yes, when you have a baby, when they're an infant, before they can walk, that is the time we prioritize infants over us. But that is a short part of your life. And still, you do need to prioritize your own rest and rejuvenation. That's how you retain your youth, your strength, and your ability to care for others, by caring for yourself first. So you do have to be self-centered to be able to care for others. It sounds contradictory, but it's not. Selfishness in a boy, for him being stingy and things like this is not productive. But for you, putting your sleep first so you're better able to take care of your children, this is a positive thing. In dating, this is essential. The difference between the Western pick-me girls is they will do whatever to please, and it's just low vibrational, right? Whereas Melania expects to be courted. So on a date, Melania is thinking, how does this gentleman benefit her? Is this date making her life better? So if he's rude, she wouldn't come back, right? Etc. Right? So many ladies will tolerate low value behavior just because they feel a connection, and they will get themselves in a bad situation, whereas Melania always thinks, how does this make my life better? If it doesn't, it's not worth it. And gentlemen treat women who put themselves first and walk away from situations that don't benefit them because they're not people pleasers better. So if Melania jumped on Donald Trump on the first day like Marla, he had no respect for Marla and treated her the worst out of his wives, right? If she had behaved like Marla Maples, she would have been treated like her. So when Donald Trump met Melania, he asked for her card, and she said, no, you know what, give me your card. And then she went, did a photo shoot, traveled, etc. A week later, she called him. Now that inspired respect, that she was not desperate, that she was not chasing, she was not desperate to be picked, twisting herself into a pretzel, pretending that she likes what Trump likes. And no, she made sure that she was the lady in the relationship, and Donald Trump had to court and impress her. That is why she was treated so much better than Marla Maples before her. The next tip, as I said earlier, is to dress sophisticated and be groomed, because you will be treated better. Alright? My tip for this is, when you dress for success, you dress for your goal, hire an image consultant. It makes a difference. One of the biggest things I see among the elite of these wannabes is that they would have an expensive handbag, but they wouldn't have the most flattering clothes for them. Or the clothes will be cheap, or they'll be basic, all beige. They read all this old money aesthetic, and it will look like everyone else. When you don't have an individual style, we know you use the how to dress expensive tips because you're a wannabe, right? Elite ladies, we have stylists, and growing up I had a couturier, and she would pick fabric based on every single individual one, based on my skin tone, my hair, what flattered me the most. It was years later that I learned how to do my own color season analysis. I had the wrong color season analysis. And when I knew how to do mine correctly, her colors fit because she picked them one by one. She knew exactly what to wear for my body type. So you'll notice elite ladies have things custom, or at least have them altered to suit them. And if they buy off the rack, they have a stylist who taught them how to, or the stylist shops for them, right? So elite ladies might be wearing the most basic, casual clothes. I don't recommend wearing jeans and t-shirt because you'll be treated worse. But even if an elite lady has this, it will be the most flattering on her. Even the most basic things will be the most flattering rather than the flashiest logos, right? Wearing something with a logo is not a sin if the rest of your wardrobe is put together. It complements it. But if your wardrobe is a mess, then the designer element highlights how much you don't fit in and how much you're a wannabe and you stick out like a sore thumb. So if you're wearing a Shein dress and that's what you can afford, and your boyfriend bought you a designer handbag, sell the handbag, get something leather, and maybe upgrade the dress to something of a natural fiber, right? Elite ladies spend more money on the dress than the handbag, whereas lower class women think a designer handbag can fix a poor wardrobe, and it doesn't. The other thing you'll notice, elite ladies, they will have makeup lessons to see what is the most flattering. They will have a hairstylist, right? And some ladies will have hair styling lessons as well, right? Being groomed and sophisticated gets you treated better. That's why, you know what? It's okay to wear jeans and a t-shirt, and you might fit in and be basic. And okay, you might be wearing Laura Piana some walks, right? And your t-shirt might be from the Row, and your jeans from Chloe might be elite and posh. But you will not be treated as well as if you dressed feminine, classy, sophisticated. Having your nails done, hair done, I recommend Shark. Some ladies use Dyson Airwrap. Those things, just looking put together, if you're black, if you have braids, or whatever it is that you use to look, that you put some effort into your appearance and put together feminine, elegant, sophisticated, but you should have some original fun elements that also break the rules. It's the combination, right? That's why you should have a stylist. And even without a stylist, wear your best color that people compliment you on the most, that you also enjoy. As Edith Head once said, you can have anything in the world as long as you dress for it. If you dress for success, all the doors open to you. My next mini tip, just to recap, is you should not be shallow and you should be able to hold a conversation and have a life. Melania famously took her son, Baron Trump, to all the museums of Europe. My next tip is don't be a party girl, right? And that's something Melania used to her advantage. Most models were partying, they were doing, drugs, things of this sort. Of course, network is net worth, and Melania is a sophisticated networker. And she did meet Donald Trump at an event, but she didn't go to those parties, right? So don't be seen at cheap parties where everyone's getting drunk and acting stupid and being silly, right? Don't be seen as a party girl, alright? Instead, when you go to a party, it should be a sophisticated soiree, not something, you know what I mean? There are certain parties that lower your reputation, and there are certain parties that enhance your reputation. So be discerning of where you go. My next tip is being financially independent, or at least trying to. There are too many scammers, or whoever say you should be a damsel in distress. It's not attractive. Melania had her own modeling career going. She have to have something going for yourself, right? Even if it's just a hobby, she was doing something so he could introduce her as someone interesting. So yes, there is excellent advice to show that no, you don't have a really, successful lawyer career, right? Because if you are paid so well, why should he split the bill, right? At the same time, you should have something you can introduce yourself as. Maybe you're the best at flower arrangements, right? Maybe you're a Olympic skier. Just find something that you like, have a hobby, even if it's not the most posh hobby, just something not ratchet like collecting rats, right? Something that does not detract from you when you talk about it, that is a passion. So having a passion, being successful at it, and in the beginning, having your own apartment and not begging a gentleman, having a job and not being a beggar, right? These things, they do make a difference. But if you run and beg, it scares away high-value gentlemen and attracts predators. Next is put yourself where the affluent are and don't compromise. Jeannie Sales said this. So, Melania Trump didn't settle for mediocrity, and neither should you. You should level up so that you align with the environment of your dreams, and then move there. And as you align, things will click and you will meet the right opportunities. And my final tip is emotional labor isn't free. Melania made sure that all of her appearances at the White House compensated, that everything she does gets compensated, because what's financially compensated is respected. The world is not a place where if you split the bills, gentlemen will split the chores. It doesn't work this way. And I have a fun video coming up about Dusties that is utterly hilarious, that will make you laugh at silly things Pygmishas fall for. But also some of those are very clever and conniving and have even duped some of my brighter ladies. And you'll have some tips on how not to be conned by the more sophisticated Dusties, and a lot of humor on the silly things that happen between Dusties and Pygmies that we can all, of course, we avoid, but also tips on the more sophisticated Dusties that dupe high-value women. And that will be coming up. Utterly hilarious, you'll enjoy it. Dustin the Dusty said that he's not ready for a relationship. And I said, neither is your bank account. If he wants to meet you equidistant and halfway, say my GPS does not recognize low effort as a destination. On your first cappuccino date, of course, that's when you set your standards, and that's when you say you're a traditional lady, you don't believe in 50-50. And if he shames you, say, if I wanted to go Dutch, I would be on the first flight to Amsterdam. Another joke. Pygmisha said, I love him for who he is. Well, and who he is unemployed. Pygmisha said she'll be his ride or die. He rode her and dumped her, and Pygmisha died of embarrassment. Pygmisha said, I'll prove my loyalty. And the only thing she proved was that Dusty loses audacity. Ladies, please comment below if you liked any of these. I have a special Level Up educational humor video coming up that you will absolutely adore. Also, please comment below which of these tips you found the most interesting, and should I read more about Melania and do more videos on her, or if you want me to cover someone else, please write in the comments below. Please like or absolutely hate, share, subscribe, and comment below. Ciao!